The exchange student's warning, the Galactic University of Nexus Prime, buzzed with its usual chaos. Students from 47 different species floated, crawled, and phased through the massive corridors. In classroom Delta 7, Professor Vextai's tentacles waved frantically as he tried to explain quantum diplomacy to his mixed-species class. Marcus Webb sat in the back corner, the only human among creatures that defied every law of biology he'd grown up with. The 22-year-old engineering student from Earth had won the exchange program lottery, though he was beginning to wonder if it was actually a prize or punishment. The Zephyrian Confederacy maintains peace through shared consciousness. Professor Vextai announced, his crystalline form shifting colors with each word. Unlike primitive species that rely on individual decision-making, several students turned to stare at Marcus. He'd grown used to being the classroom curiosity. Humans were considered barely sentient by galactic standards, having only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. Most species had been traveling between stars for millennia. The lecture continued with discussions of advanced diplomatic techniques that relied on telepathy, quantum entanglement, and other abilities humans simply didn't possess. Marcus took notes anyway, though he doubted any of it would be useful back on Earth. That's when the emergency broadcast pierced through every communication device in the room. The holographic display showed Admiral Zorthok of the Hegemony Fleet. His insectoid features twisted with what Marcus had learned to recognize as anger. "Citizens of the galaxy," the Admiral's voice clicked and buzzed through the translation matrix. "The human homeworld has been designated a Class 7 threat to galactic stability. Their chaotic nature and unpredictable behavior patterns make them unsuitable for civilized space." Marcus felt every eye in the classroom turn toward him. His stomach dropped as the Admiral continued. "Effective immediately, the Sol system is under quarantine. Any human found outside their designated zone will be detained for the safety of all civilized species. This measure is temporary until proper containment protocols can be established." Professor Vextai's form flickered nervously. "Perhaps we should discuss this development in the context of historical precedent." But Marcus wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about his sister Jenny, working on the Mars colonies, about his parents in the asteroid mining stations, about the 5 billion humans scattered across their small corner of the galaxy, suddenly cut off from the rest of civilization. "Excuse me," Marcus stood up, his voice cutting through the nervous chatter of his classmates. "I have a question about those containment protocols." The room fell silent. Professor Vextai's crystalline structure pulsed with uncertainty. "Perhaps this isn't the appropriate time for questions, Mr. Webb." "Actually," Marcus replied, pulling out his datapad and scrolling through files he'd been working on for weeks, "I think it's the perfect time. Because according to my calculations, the hegemony just made a very serious mistake. The human problem, the silence in classroom Delta 7, stretched like a taut wire. Marcus Webb stood alone among beings who could manipulate matter with their thoughts, communicate across vast distances instantly, and existed in dimensions he could barely comprehend. Yet none of them understood what he was about to explain. "The thing about humans," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the weight of 46 pairs of alien eyes upon him, "is that we don't respond well to being caged." Professor Vextai's form shifted to a worried shade of amber. "Mr. Webb, perhaps you should return to your dormitory. The administration will handle this diplomatic situation." "With respect, Professor, this stopped being a diplomatic situation the moment Admiral Zorthik declared us a threat." Marcus activated his datapad's holographic display. "I've been studying galactic history for 6 months. Want to know what I've learned?" Charts and graphs filled the air above Marcus's desk. His classmates leaned forward despite themselves, their curiosity overriding their discomfort. "Every species in this galaxy achieved peace the same way," Marcus continued. They evolved past their aggressive instincts. They developed telepathy, shared consciousness, or quantum harmony. They became civilized by your standards because they stopped fighting. A student who resembled a floating jellyfish pulsed with confusion. Yes, that's the natural progression of intelligent life. Why? Would any species choose to remain violent? Marcus smiled, though he knew the expression made most aliens uncomfortable, because humans never had a choice. Our planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases, natural disasters. We didn't evolve past aggression because we couldn't afford to. The classroom's environmental systems hummed louder as tension filled the air. Several students began shifting uncomfortably in their seats, or floating positions, or dimensional phases. Our entire civilization is built on a simple principle. Marcus explained, manipulating the holographic display to show Earth's history. When something threatens us, we don't surrender. We don't negotiate. We don't run away. We find a way to fight back, no matter how impossible the odds seem. Professor Vextai's tentacles writhed anxiously. Mr. Webb, you're making your classmates uncomfortable. Perhaps we should focus on finding a peaceful resolution. Professor, with all due respect, there is no peaceful resolution. Marcus's voice carried a weight that made several energy-based students flicker nervously. The hegemony just declared war on a species that has never known peace. They've trapped 5 billion humans in a cage and told them they're too dangerous to be free. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Marcus could see the understanding dawning on faces, crystal formations, and quantum probability. Fields around the room. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? Marcus asked, his fingers dancing across the datapad interface. It's not our technology. It's not our weapons. It's not even our stubbornness, though that's part of it. New data streams appeared in the holographic display, showing human expansion patterns, resource utilization rates, and adaptation statistics. What makes us dangerous, Marcus continued, is that we're very, very good at learning. And right now, every human in the galaxy just got the same lesson. The message was clear, even to species that communicated through quantum fluctuations and emotional resonance. The galaxy had just taught humanity that they were alone, surrounded by beings who considered them inferior and dangerous. The hegemony thinks they're containing a problem, Marcus concluded, shutting down his display. What they've actually done is given 5 billion humans the same enemy and the same goal. Professor Vextai's form had shifted to a deep, troubled purple. What goal is that, Mr. Webb? Marcus packed his datapad away with deliberate calm, proving them wrong. Excuse me, Professor. I need to send a message home. The Awakening the Communication Hub and Nexus Prime University buzzed with activity as students from across the galaxy tried to contact their homeworlds. Marcus Webb sat in a cramped booth designed for beings with entirely different anatomies, waiting for his transmission to reach Earth through the quantum relay network. The response came faster than expected. His sister Jenny's face appeared on the holographic display, her expression grim. Behind her, Marcus could see the red dust of Mars swirling outside the colony's windows. Marcus, thank God. Jenny's voice crackled through the long-distance connection. Are you safe? The whole galaxy's gone crazy. They've cut off all our trade routes, blocked our shipping lanes. We're completely isolated. I'm fine, John, but listen carefully. How many ships do we have in the outer systems? Jenny's eyebrows rose. She was 5 years older than Marcus and had inherited their father's engineering mind. Why are you asking? About ships? We need to focus on diplomacy, on finding a peaceful solution. ... Jen. Marcus's voice carried the same tone their father used when explaining why the mining platforms needed redundant safety systems. How many ships? She paused, recognizing the urgency. colony ships, cargo haulers, mining platforms, ... Maybe 8,000 scattered across 100 systems. Why? Because they just became the foundation of humanity's first space navy. The transmission quality wavered as security protocols kicked in, but Marcus could see his sister's expression shift from confusion to understanding to something that looked remarkably like anticipation. Marcus, what are you thinking? I'm thinking about what Dad always said about engineering problems. When you can't go through something, you go around it. When you can't go around it, you go under it. And when you can't go under it, you build. Something bigger, Jenny finished, a smile spreading across her face, despite the serious situation. The hegemony's biggest advantage is their advanced technology, Marcus explained rapidly, aware that their connection could be monitored. But they've been at peace for so long, they've forgotten how to adapt quickly. They rely on established protocols, standard procedures, diplomatic channels, and humans don't. Exactly. Remember the Martian dust storm crisis? When the weather satellites went down, and you had 3 days to figure out how to protect the colony. Jenny nodded. We stripped parts from everything that wasn't essential, turned mining equipment into atmospheric processors, used cargo containers as storm shelters. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. That's what we do, Jean. We improvise. We adapt. We make things work even when they shouldn't. Marcus leaned closer to the display. The hegemony has better ships, better weapons, better technology. But they've never had to fight a species that turns garbage scows into battleships. Static began interfering with the transmission as the quantum relay struggled with the distance and security encryption. Jenny's image flickered, but her voice remained clear. What do you need me to do? Send a message to every human settlement, every mining station, every colony ship in our space. Tell them the galaxy thinks we're too primitive to be free. Tell them we're going to prove them wrong. Marcus, this is insane. We're talking about taking on the entire galaxy with converted cargo ships and jury-rigged weapons. Marcus thought about his classmates' expressions when he'd explained human nature. Their fear, their confusion, their inability to understand a species that had never known peace. Shun, they're not expecting us to fight back. They think they can just lock us up and we'll accept it. They've never dealt with a species that considers impossible odds a challenge instead of a surrender condition. The transmission quality degraded. Further, but Jenny's smile came through clearly. Dad would be proud, and probably terrified. He'd also tell us to check our math twice and build in redundant safety systems. Already on it. I'll have preliminary designs for ship modifications within 48 hours. Marcus, how much time do we have? Marcus glanced around the communication hub, noting the increased security presence and the worried expressions on alien faces. Not much. The hegemony's moving fast, implement their containment protocols, but they're also overconfident. They think this is already over. Then we better prove them wrong quickly. The transmission cut out, leaving Marcus alone in the booth, with the weight of what he'd just set in motion. Outside, he could hear increased chatter from other students, the universal sounds of panic and confusion in 47 different languages and communication methods. But Marcus wasn't panicking. For the first time since arriving at the university, he felt like he understood exactly what was happening and what needed to be done. The galaxy had made a fundamental error in judgment. They'd treated humanity like every other species they'd encountered, assuming humans would respond to superior force with submission. They were about to learn why that assumption was very, very wrong. The first strike, 3 weeks after the quarantine declaration, Admiral Zorthak received his first indication that the human problem might be more complicated than anticipated. The report came from Captain Vel Tar of the patrol ship Righteous Harmony, stationed at the edge of the Sol System's boundary. Admiral, we have a situation. Captain Valtar's voice buzzed through the quantum communicator. "We've detected 17 human vessels approaching our position." Admiral Zorthash's compound eyes focused on the tactical display. 17 ships? Are they attempting to break the quarantine? That single quotes S. Unclear, sir. The vessels appear to be civilian in nature. Mining ships, cargo haulers, even what looks like a passenger liner. They're broadcasting surrender intentions. The Admiral's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Excellent. The humans are accepting their containment like civilized beings. Prepare to escort them back to the quarantine zone. Sir, there's something unusual about their approach vector. They're coming in on 17 different trajectories, spread across a three-dimensional formation that doesn't match any known surrender protocol. Admiral Zorthik paused. His species had evolved from pack hunters, and something deep in his genetic memory whispered warnings about prey that didn't run. What are their engine signatures showing? That's the other strange thing, sir. For civilian vessels, they're running remarkably hot. Power outputs are significantly higher than our databases suggest is possible for human technology. Meanwhile, aboard the converted mining ship Iron Maiden, Captain Lisa Torres checked her instruments. One final time. The former asteroid miner had never expected to command a warship, but then again, she'd never expected to be at war either. Engineering, how are those modifications holding up? She called over the intercom. Jury-rigged fusion reactors are stable, came the reply from her chief engineer, a man named Rodriguez who'd spent 15 years making mining equipment work in impossible conditions. The particle beam arrays are drawing power within acceptable parameters. Can't guarantee how long they'll hold together, but they'll work long enough. Torres smiled grimly. Every human ship in the improvised fleet carried the same modifications. Mining lasers converted to weapons, cargo compartments filled with improvised armor plating, civilian sensors upgraded with military-grade targeting systems stripped from construction equipment. Communications, open a channel to the hegemony. Vessel. Captain Valtar's image appeared on the main screen. His insectoid features arranged in what Torres had learned was the galactic equivalent of diplomatic condescension. Human vessel, you are in violation of the quarantine protocols. Cut your engines and prepare to be escorted back to your designated zone. Captain Valtar, Torres replied politely. We're here to discuss the terms of our surrender. Terms. The alien captain's antennae twitched with confusion. There are no terms. You will comply with containment protocols or face the consequences. See, that's where we have a problem, Torres continued, her tone remaining conversational. Because humans don't really do unconditional surrender. We prefer to negotiate. You are in no position to negotiate. Our technology is superior. Our ships are more advanced. Our weapons are more powerful. You will comply. Torres nodded thoughtfully. You're absolutely right about the technology gap. Your ship is definitely more advanced than ours. But here's the thing about humans, Captain. We've been fighting with inferior equipment our entire history. On the tactical display, Admiral Zorthik watched in growing alarm as the 17 human ships suddenly changed course. Instead of maintaining their surrender approach, they spread out into what looked suspiciously like an attack formation. Captain Valtar, what is happening? The humans are. I'm not sure, sir. Their formation doesn't match any known tactical doctrine. That was because it wasn't based on any known tactical doctrine. It was based on something much older and more fundamental. Pack hunting strategies refined over millions of years of fighting to survive.